My distinct pleasure to welcome in the man of the weekend. Who else could I be talking about but Coach Jay Johnson, as this number one ranked, very good LSU baseball team prepares to open up the best 10 weeks in all of spring SEC play, baby. That's right. Here we go, guys. Coach, how we feeling today, man? Thank you so much for making this time for us during this very busy portion of the year.
You got it. How you guys doing?
Freaking excited. Super pumped.
Go.
I mean, great baseball in the box, great baseball, softball at Tiger Park this week. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. So much of baseball, Coach, especially nowadays where the SEC is so clearly the best conference in the country. It's mind-boggling in how good it is, top to bottom. And so much of the build up to this point feels like getting ready for this. Do you feel your team's ready for the grind?
Yeah, for sure. And I think the reason I say that is all mindset. You know, what everything you said is true relative to the best league, you know, by miles. By oceans, it's the best league in college baseball. But that's still all external stuff, and for us, it's about how we prepare, how we compete in the game, you know, how we respond to things that happen in the game, and how we play fundamentally. And there's been a lot of positive signs, but yeah, I think we're excited to go. I think it's time, and just like it was time for the season to get here, it's time for this.
Yes.
And you know, we're ready to get bloodied a little bit and respond and be consistent in our play, and can't wait.
Coach, one of the things we've talked about with you throughout the season is the depth that you have on this team, and it certainly showed throughout the non-conference as you get ready for conference play, and you've been able to create kind of these matchups that favor LSU baseball. Like, do you anticipate that kind of staying true in conference play? Do you want to shorten the lineup? Like, what kind of path do you want to see, or is it, hey, we just got to let this thing play out and see what's best for us?
Yeah, good question. I mean, I say this all the time. Like, any decision I make relative to the lineup, a pitching change, pinch hitting, you know, whatever, it's all in the context of just helping us win that game that's in front of us. You know, I mean, you know, certainly the teams we're going to play are better than most of the teams that we have played, but it's still baseball, and, you know, winning is winning. And so I never get too far ahead of myself.
Yep.
I said this going into the season, and I believe it to be true. I feel like I know our team better this year in terms of what we have, and part of that is there is some peace of mind on the depth. You can set some guys that really use their skills to be successful for this, and it'll get tested a little bit more. Obviously, you need some guys to really be on top of their game in terms of their mindset and how they execute. Mm-hmm. But I do feel good about how we can match up. And ultimately, that's what baseball comes down to.
So something interesting, Coach, that in a roundabout way made me think of you yesterday was Rich Rodriguez talking about how hard it is nowadays in society where everything's kind of like me. The dancing on TikTok stuff is funny too. Right, but there's a quote about everything's in society now and culture and the algorithm. It's all about the individual. It's all about me, right? You have a saying, or I've been quoting you as saying you do, the big we, little me. I love that idea. Do you find though, on a roster where there are so many talented players, is it harder or easier for them to get to buy in that philosophy? Like we talked about it yesterday with Braswell. You know, I'm sure being a senior and everything, he's maybe like, who knows where his head's at right now in terms of playing time and whatnot, but like he's going to be needed. Like guys have to stay ready because during this grind, everybody's going to be called upon at one time or another. With a roster this good, is it harder or easier to achieve that goal of big we, little me?
Well, I will tell you, it does. First off, great Rich Rod reference. Like that's my guy. We were at Arizona together.
Oh, okay, hell yeah.
That's totally him. Like, by the way, 1,000%. Like, I saw that. I was laughing about that yesterday as well. But you have to be intentional. Like, I think there's this thought of, okay, well, everybody should just be a good person and selfless and place the needs of the team above their own. And he's right. Like, that's not natural, and it's really not natural for young people, and it's really not natural for young people nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been really intentional about how we've done a lot to try to build that. And knowing, I always go into the year thinking, okay, what's going to be the path for the team? And for this year, it's pretty simple. We got to be tough and we got to be together. I mean, it's really boiling down to those two things. You know, the toughness part is just focus and, you know, the task at hand and sticking through adversity. And then the together part is the team over me. And when you have a bunch of guys that come here as their path to professional baseball, they obviously all want to play. And I get it. And I don't want them to be any other way than that, because if they're not competitive. But they have to understand that this particular program was built on players being selfless. You know, it's not always your time at a place like LSU. So you don't have to not be competitive about it, but you have to be a man and handle it in the right way. And it's really cool to see. Like, when I came here, we brought back that tradition of the pitcher handing the ball to the reliever, kind of almost like a baton on the relay. It's like, hey, it's your job now. You know, I'm handing it off to you. Or, you know, something with these guys that we've pinch hit a lot this year, you know, in some matchup spots, and seeing the guy that I'm pinch hitting for encourage the guy that's going up to pinch hit, like, so far so good. And that's going to get tested more. Mm-hmm. And but I think as we sit today, we're in a good spot with that.
Coach, as you set to welcome Missouri into the box, and you look at the SEC standings, I realize where Missouri is, and I'm sure that you and the team have realized where Missouri is, but it's also an SEC baseball team. And so what are some of the things that Missouri does well that you have to make sure you get ready for this weekend?
Yeah, left-handed pitching, left-handed hitting. Ian Loesch, who we haven't seen the rotation yet, but who I'm assuming they're starting, like, threw a few scoreless innings against us last year up there in Columbia. Certainly capable. They're very athletic. Their coach, Carrick Jackson, was at Southern and did a good job there, and then at Memphis and did a good job there. So he knows what he's doing. Tim Jamison used to be the head coach at Missouri, kind of in their glory days. Max Scherzer, Aaron Crow, so they know what they're doing, and it'll be a tough series. Like, I'm not looking at this as any different than, maybe somebody that's ranked up there in the top 5. It's honestly all the same. And I know that's hard for people to get their head around. It's just not like football and basketball. So trust me, we're treating it, guns blazing, full speed ahead, prepare like it's game 3 of the CWS finals.
Well, and Coach, I know that look, there's a lot of new faces on this team, but just thinking back to last year, I mean, I just remember going. Now, granted, it's at the Dude, and Mississippi State's always good, so this was just bad, cocky analysis by us. But outside looking in, that's a series where, like, oh, here, LSU should kick their ass. And then it was kind of like a bit of a rude awakening. Have you seen any of the guys who were there last year, right? Do you feel like any lessons were learned, or are they approaching it any differently this season?
Well, I'll tell you this. Like, this is such a different team.
Yeah.
Like, I don't mean that with any disrespect to last year's team, because they ended up being pretty good when all was said and done. Yeah. But, like, it's not – like, we only have 12 players that played in a game last year.
That's crazy.
And those 12 players are completely different players. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, I'll give you an example of nobody would ever think of, like Jaden Newt. I mean, he was coming off of Tommy John. He threw 1 inning last year.
There you go.
He's pretty good in the ball game on Tuesday night. He
was. Yeah.
A guy like Jake Brown, who is just finding super talented. Like, he doesn't need any more physical talent. But I mean, he had no idea what he was walking into with that.
Yeah.
And then you look at the transfers. Zach Cowan, Chris Stanfield, Danny Dickinson, Luis Hernandez. Whew. Those guys have played a lot of college baseball. And so it's been a good blend with that. I want to say we were in Frisco, and I looked out on the field, and it was like, man, this is where you want to get this to. You got 8 guys that have played a lot of college baseball, and then you got Derek Carriel, who's as good a freshman as you could have. So, I don't think it guarantees success, and we're not going to pretend like it does. Like, there's going to be some challenges throughout the course of this weekend and certainly through the league. So I do like how these guys have responded to the challenges that we've had within games so far. And that gives me some confidence of readiness.
Coach, one of the things, and you just mentioned it, that's impressive to me is how you have these young players that look like they're ready for the moment. It's not too big for them. And we asked you about that a couple of weeks ago. T-Bob and I have gone through that when we've been freshmen trying to go into Tiger Stadium and you know, be a player that can help the team win. But the mindset of these young players that you have, I'm talking like true freshmen. And you mentioned one there, but like even like a William Schmidt, he gets the ball on Tuesday night to start the game. And just his confidence and just the way he carries himself on the mound, like that feels like somebody that the moment's not too big for a player like that.
Oh, no. And it's like we've hit it just right as far as what we wanted to get done for these 4 weeks without overextending him. Got him, you know, basically a bullpen on Tuesday in that game. Which worked out perfectly. And he's lined up, you know, ready to go for the weekend. So really excited about him. I love putting him in the game, and the reason I do is just like he thrives on the competition. It looks like he's been doing it for a long time, and he also is pretty darn talented. Yeah. So I'm excited about William, and I think his days of throwing on any Tuesday are probably over for the rest of his career here.
Coach Jay Johnson, LSU head baseball coach. You know him, you love him. Opening weekend in the box this weekend. One of the great opening SEC play, but one of just the best feelings in the entire world. 6:30 tonight, 6 p.m. tomorrow, 1 p.m. come Sunday. LSU, Mizzou. Coach, best of luck this weekend. Cannot wait to watch.
All right, guys. Have a good day.